Listen closely because she believes love what you do and you will never work a day in your life. Debra, welcome to the show. I'm so excited you're here.
Good morning, Kat. And I'm so excited to be here as well. Happy day to you.
Happy day to you. I love your bright red, like flowers. Your energy is contagious, and so is your spirit and your business. So I'm really glad to have you here to talk with our audience. I wanted to jump right in because we only have about 28 minutes left.
Okay.
How did you get started as an entrepreneur? Do you want to give us a little backstory on how your journey began?
Real quick, Kat, I started the entrepreneur journey over 30 years ago just by chance. I was involved in teaching school. That's my trade. That was my career. And I taught kindergarten. And I joined a group of ladies who found that they didn't have exactly what they wanted to teach school. They wanted a curriculum that combined two worlds together. And when they didn't have it, they created it. And I was part of that. And so for 20 years, we marketed, we workshopped, we sold early childhood curriculum. So helping children learn to read. And so when you love what you do, as I said, when you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's how it all started.
I appreciate that. I love that you are helping children and teachers at the same time. But that part that you said, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. That's really inspirational for me because I went on a career path that could have made a lot of money, looked really good, but I did not love it. And so the business didn't come. And it was a lot of hard, painstaking work. So what you're sharing, I think, offers a lot of value to you. Do you find that people are receptive to that concept of loving what you do and you'll never really work?
It's interesting that you asked that question because as we know, life can be hard. Jobs can be hard. Family can be hard. And it's not if life happens to you, it's when it happens to you. And so it's really a mindset that you really get in that lane, especially the entrepreneurial lane. Because I know, as you know, a given day of an entrepreneur's life is different. You do not do the same thing every day, all day long. Yeah. And so we oftentimes say, find that sweet spot, but it's a mindset that you get to find, you get to discover, and you get to choose to live every day that I find that's where the magic happens. And so asking the question, do people are receptive to that? It's all about their choice and what they do. I love preaching it. I love teaching it. But when you can invite people in and say, come on, you can do it too. That's where I have the most fun.
Oh, I love that. I love that you're having fun doing it. And when you said that, it's like, I can see the teacher in you coming out like, come on, let's go. Let's have some fun. But you can do it. When I first met you on Clubhouse a couple of years ago, I loved your can-do attitude and your mindset and how, inclusive and outgoing you are. With individuals. So I really appreciate that. Can you tell us a little bit more then about mindset and why that is so important? And you wrote in this thing, like, I have to know myself before I can grow myself. Maybe expand upon that in the mindset world for us.
It really is. And I found that journey, as again, I'm building my fourth six-figure, one of them went to seven-figure business right now. And when we talk about mindset, it is the can-do attitude. And it's very interesting as you ask that, I'm going, wow, I just started a TikTok account. And my girls are going, Mother, really? And I'm going, the mindset of can do. The mindset of I've got what it takes day in, day out, especially when it comes to the entrepreneurial journey. Again, that's the secret sauce, I truly believe. My first business we talked about, I had 3 business partners. We all had our lane. That's what made it work. And we all stayed in our lane. We supported one another and we held one another accountable. But we, at the end of the day, when we would get up from the table and say, what we were doing, we can improve on Hallmark. I'm sure we can. And that was our spirit. We felt our synergy was enough to improve on Hallmark. We could do it. I found though, Kat, when I really had to dive into my mindset, knowing myself, it was when I made that leap between business, 20 years, multi-million-dollar business, successful, the next chapter of life began. And I found myself as a solo entrepreneur. Solo entrepreneur. Ooh. I went from having accountability and having an inner circle to sitting at a desk really at home by myself on a given day. And that's when I had to really flip the switch of that mindset.
Okay.
Because so oftentimes when you're there by yourself, you're a solo entrepreneur, you're not sure, the sales aren't doing what you wanted to do. It's not taking off the way you wanted to do. You know, whatever, you fill in the blank on what the challenge is, the struggle for your journey is. That's when I had to really down deep to know myself on a given day. I had to know myself. I had to know what I was doing. I had to believe I was enough to be able to grow myself and my business.
I appreciate that because, I mean, you're really highlighting that as an entrepreneur and especially a solopreneur, right? When you're by yourself, you've got to motivate yourself. And if you aren't getting off the couch doing what you should be doing or need to be doing, and I've been there, right? No judgment on anyone. I've been there, but you've got to go inside and know yourself and learn your motivations and your triggers. Because the reality is motivation from the outside only lasts like a little bit, right? We've got to find that internal inspiration, I believe, to keep going. So I really appreciate that you shared that. And I wanted to ask you kind of a follow-up question, because I was talking with a gentleman yesterday who has gone from being an employee, having a job, like a corporate job for decades, into entrepreneurship and is struggling with just what you talked about, this kind of up and down. And he's a sharp guy, he's a smart guy, but it's a completely different animal. Like being corporate versus entrepreneurship. What advice would you give to him about mindset? And he's not struggling like mindset with personal stuff, but really mindset on making that shift from corporate to the solopreneur life.
You know, so many things come to mind when we did talk about this new man you've interviewed or you've met, because he's gone from an 8 to 5 corporate. I mean, realistically, now if he was up there, he could, you know, he stayed late, blah, blah, blah. But he knew it was his, I love to call it, his neck wasn't on the line. And when you're an entrepreneur, day in, day out, it's a you and you deal. Your neck is on the line. You're like, I mean, I got to make payroll by the end of the week or whatever, payroll, pay the rent. You fill in the blank on the expenses that you've got to do as an entrepreneur. And so that's where, to me, you've got to be grounded, and you touched upon it. You've got to be grounded in that why I'm doing what I'm doing. What's my vision? And I say life and biz all the time, because when you're an entrepreneur, I think they go hand in hand. Life and biz, life and biz, life and biz. You know, you get to empty the trash. You get to make the email, especially when you're first starting. You know, you get to see that vision of where you're going. And so my advice to him would be, again, each morning, grounding on that why. Why is he doing what he's doing? It's a time and financial freedom. It's a different chapter of life, as I found myself, is, you know, why is he doing what he's doing to be able to be that entrepreneur and stick in that lane? The other thing I'm also, again, as I do, when you're a solo entrepreneur, you've got to find an inner circle of people. So not only your why and your vision on why you're doing what you're doing, because nobody's coming for you. I don't know who says, I think it's he says, you know, I like to tell entrepreneurs, they think they're going to see it and it's all going to come. And he says, I want to scream into the camera, nobody's coming for you. You get to do it yourself. So your why and your vision, but also the daily action that he gets to take each and every day for that business, grounding himself, finding that inner circle. Who are the people? Who are you going to be your trusted advisors? And I always recommend it somebody outside your family, you know, somebody who's going to say, this is working, this is not working. Keep going, don't keep going. You know, somebody who's got an objective opinion about it. And so find that inner circle, whether it's a BNI group, whether it's a people, other small business people in your community, but you've got to find that inner circle so that you can be able to vent, talk, chat, because that's where I found myself. I'm in year, 16 of being a solo entrepreneur. And every day I find it challenging on certain days. I'm like, I just want to I just got this idea and I want to run it by somebody. And when you're a solo entrepreneur, you don't have that somebody. So those would be my 2 pieces of advice for him. Be grounded in your why and vision, rock solid on that, and then find yourself an inner circle so that you very quickly have some people that you can communicate with.
Ooh, I appreciate that. And I am totally in alignment with the knowing your why, because some days I feel that question comes up like, why am I doing this? What did I get myself into? And you said it earlier, though, it's a choice, right? This is a choice, and we have to keep choosing these different things to help us keep on track or keep on momentum, which I want to touch on next. But I appreciate too that inner circle, like that feels good, because it can be lonely and isolating until we, till we have that more momentum where we can build a team for ourselves, not just this inner circle, but, either employees or collabs. So there's a lot to cover here, and I want to just keep moving. You're fast paced too, so I love it. But when someone has done that, they've grounded into their why, they have a small circle, they're doing the steps, they're doing this thing, and then you bring to your business to another level, this momentum thing, this entrepreneurial momentum. How else can one get there, and what can someone do to amplify that space or building on it?
I absolutely love that. And I'm a big John Maxwell junkie, and he talks about the law of momentum.
Okay.
And we don't have to even explain it very much. If you're an entrepreneur and you're listening today, you know when you're in rhythm and flow, when you've got that feeling, you've landed the sale, the email went out, the launch was successful. I mean, it is a very sweet place to be.
Okay.
And so studies show that as you start that ball rolling, it's easier to keep that ball rolling than it is to start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. And so you ask the question of, how do I keep it going? How do I keep that as an entrepreneur? What's the secret to the entrepreneurial momentum? Don't try to say that fast. The entrepreneurial momentum. How do you keep it going? Well, I keep it going by being very intentional. Lean in and listen, because, they may be expecting some big 10-step process, but I'm telling you, the entrepreneurial momentum is kept each and every day by being intentional about your actions. Being intentional about your actions. So oftentimes the entrepreneurs that I work with, they'll say, well, it's not growing or it's not going. And Debra, and I'm going, let's look at what you're doing every day. Because I'm guilty on a given day. I go to the office every day now. I'm working on my business every day now. Oh, yeah, I did something today. And when you slow down to really think about, okay, what revenue generating ideas, because let's just face it, entrepreneurial, you've got to make money, you've got to have a profit, or it's just called a hobby. And hobbies are okay. Don't get us wrong. Hobbies are perfectly okay. But if you're in the game to make money, to be an entrepreneur, to grow a business, the law of momentum, the entrepreneurial momentum continues to roll by your daily intentional actions. What am I going to do today? I always have a top 3 of the day. What are my 3 tasks today that are going to grow my business? And as much as I love, you touched on me being a go-go, and as much as I love that grandbaby, because, if y'all have got grandbabies out there, I've got one now for 10 months, and it's a pretty sweet place to be. And I love doing that, and I lean into that, and I live my vision each and every day. But each morning I got to think, what is it today? What are 3 things I can do today? And so oftentimes entrepreneurs are like, I got to make a big project. I got to make a big goal. I've got to have a big thing on the wall. And I'm like, you can. Yes. And there are time and place for that. But I'm going to tell you right now, 3 tasks every day that are revenue generating activities.
So, and that's you just hit on it, and 3 tasks, revenue generating activities to go forward. So I love that you shared some of this on a couple of different levels, because that intentional action, and I was leaning in, I forget about that sometimes too. But that in energy speak, because I always talk a lot about
Yes.
energy, we need to sit and be with the energy, do whatever. But the next step of that is taking action, either the inspired action, the right action, and you're afraid intentional action. And in energy speak, intention is everything, so getting clear on the why and setting the intention. I so appreciate that. But you're also keeping it simple. My 3 children all had the same kindergarten teacher. Her name was Mrs. Doyle, right? And they're, different ages apart. And she had Mrs. Doyle's must-dos. Every day they had 3 things they had to do before they could go off and play and do whatever. And it's like, it's that phrase or that book, everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten. Like if we go back and keep it that simple, we build momentum, but it's the consistency I'm hearing you say, correct? Like
it is. And it's very interesting that that's where I landed as a kindergarten teacher. So there, that teacher blood comes back.
There you go.
So loud and strong that I taught kindergarten. And you're right. Those 3 tasks. And think about it. I mean, there's so many books and references we could make today, Kat. But I mean, it's making your bed every morning. It's brushing your teeth every morning. It's, whatever, eating something for breakfast every morning when especially you're at that point in life. It's those consistent actions that we build in. And I love James Clear Atomic Habits. I mean, he says, nobody has to tell you. And we even take it back in time. Nobody, learning to walk. Nobody has to tell you now to put your feet over the side of the bed, stand up, 1 foot. I mean, like we just do it. And so as an entrepreneur, if you get that ingrained into the 3 tasks every day, I'm going to make whatever it is. And mine are different on certain days. But if it's make a phone call, if it's work on an email sequence, or it's visiting, seeing somebody in person, you take your pick. Take your pick of what your 3 are. But as an entrepreneur, you've got to have those revenue generating tasks each and every day consistent. And if you'll put in the time for the long game, it works. It just works.
That's awesome. I've seen you grow in momentum, at least. I see you on social media, I follow you, and, your excitement is contagious, but I love that you have like the practical steps that go along with it. It's like, you kind of need a little bit of both, right? You can't.
You do.
So I thank you for that. Are there any other tips you'd want to share that come to mind about momentum for entrepreneurs, or anything about the entrepreneurship journey that is important?
Yeah. So to me, it is, wow, I was going to go back to its mindset. I say, my secrets, and as I'm really diving into that recently, harder and harder about sharing what I did. I mean, like, I just go, doesn't everybody do it? I mean, like, hadn't everybody built for this? I just did it. But, and they're like, no, they haven't. I'm going, oh, okay. Well, I just thought this was something everybody knew to do. And they are laughing at me, all day long. I'm like, guys, I have to keep it simple. But the things that I think, again, other tips for entrepreneurs, always stay open to possibilities. Always. I mean, I shared with y'all, I've got 2 TikTok reels right now. Like I've always had to stay open to possibilities, willing to step outside my comfort zone. The way I do business today, I'm not going to say it's completely different than the way I do business I did 30 years ago when I started. Still value people. Relationships are still key. I still pick up the phone and have friendships with some of those customers. I've got some of those customers that are still customers with me today.
Oh, wow.
So that's always, awesome. I'm not going to say I do it different, but I have to stay open to possibilities always. So oftentimes people will get in their lane. They'll get in their box and they don't get out of it. And that to me is the demise of it. If you're going to do things the same way, because you and I both know what we visioned, that was good. 2 or 3 years ago, what I visioned, it didn't work the way I had to shift and pivot.
Oh, yeah.
So always staying open to possibilities. Always being willing to go the extra mile. John talks about that he says the second mile isn't as crowded as the first mile.
Right.
People that are in the game, but they're not willing to go that second mile. And so I always share with my entrepreneurs, you got to be willing to go the extra mile, whatever that means to you, whether it's being on a TV show, or whether it is being a guest and speaking about something, whether it's going out and meeting people, whether it's putting yourself out there on social media, whatever, but go the extra mile, stay in the game.
Okay. Ooh,
Yeah.
I
My
like
third thing that I've been thinking about recently is grit. And I'm laughing because I'm from Texas, as you can tell. You gotta have a grit. You gotta have grit to be an entrepreneur. You really, really do. Gotta have grit.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Because it gets bumpy, right? I mean, like you said in the beginning of this too, life gets bumpy. And if you're an entrepreneur, your life and business are kind of like this. I like to say nobody goes through this life unscathed. Nobody. So if it looks perfect for someone at some point, it's been bumpy. And so that grit, thank you for sharing that, because you're keeping it real, right? For people, it's fun, it's exciting. You can make a lot of money, you can make a lot of change, but it isn't always easy. And
it isn't always easy.
But
life's not easy. And again, it's a choice. We'll go back to, it's a choice how we choose every single day. Yeah. Are we going to see it as a failure and say, okay, I'm out? Are we going to say, oh, that didn't go the way I wanted it to go, didn't produce what I thought it was going to produce. So I'm going to take a timeout.
Right.
I'm going to evaluate my experience. I'm going to really look at it. I'm going to gather data. That's one of the key things that as I've grown in this solo entrepreneurship that I've really had to. I'm a promoter. I'm the life of the party. I love to have fun. Let's start something. Let's do it. Then about day 96, I don't even really last that long on some things. I'm going, I better have some people around me that say, we got to stay in the game, Debra, or we're looking at the data. And I've had to learn to gather my own data, whether it's actual spreadsheets or whether it's my mindset of my data, and either continue on or shift and pivot and go again.
Okay. I appreciate you saying that about that shift and pivot part. That's hard, but you've got to look at what's real too, right? You know the vision, but look at what's in front of you so you can evaluate and take stock. What do you do then for entrepreneurs? So you're a coach that helps people on their journey. Tell me a little bit more about how you serve and support other business owners or entrepreneurs.
So that's where, I mean, it's my lane. I've done it. They say, work, do what you love and never work a day in your life. And again, as I alluded to, I'm like going, oh, wow, I get to share this all day long. I mean, we sit around a table and brainstorm the ideas that are good for you and your business. So my coaching lane is really, it's a sales. It goes into that sales world. And some people get really wigged out by that word, but it's relationship building. It is growing business. It's igniting the fire inside of you and your business. And so I really gravitate, and they gravitate to me, solo entrepreneurs, people who are by themselves. And I really consider myself really versed in that area because I've done both worlds. I've had a startup and had business partners. I've had a solo startup. It was just me doing every single thing of the business. I've had a friend, I've got a franchise now. So I've got a franchise, and now I'm in this coaching lane. So nothing, and I laugh some days. I'm like, in kindergarten, when I taught people how to tie their shoe, so fun. There's nothing better. And the look on the face, and some people ask me oftentimes, do you miss teaching? I'm like, coaching is almost kind of that same dopamine that I get when somebody hits on something and they believe in themselves and that like they did the hard thing. And I encourage them to say, step out of that comfort zone and just go do it. And when they did it, they come back and they're like, it worked. Even in my office, as we build business, they're like, it really works. And I'm like, I told y'all, if we follow the plan, they're like, we're making phone calls and following up with people and, just getting that sales process down, the consistent thing of bringing somebody in the pipeline and then cash in on the end, and then even scaling business, with those customers that we have. My girls say, it worked. I called them back and asked them if they were ready to buy, and it worked. I'm going, it works. And so that to me, now what I get to do day in, day out, and I do consider that literally at the age of life where I am, I live my vision every single day. I mean, I get up in the morning and say, I want to be in rhythm and flow today, adding value to people, starting with myself. And when I can do that each and every day, win, just such a win.
That's cool. I love that you start with yourself too, because we need to, I had to learn this lesson the hard way, but we need to fill ourselves up first before we can truly show up and serve, right? Or serve at the level that we want to. I mean, we can always serve, right? But you serve at a very high level. And I really love that you fill yourself up first, because anytime I've come into contact with you, you're filling others up, with your energy and your expertise and your spirit. It's really inspiring. So I hope people will take note of that it's not selfish to take care of self, right? And like you said in the beginning, like knowing yourself, like your mindset, knowing yourself too, it's powerful.
It is huge. And it's just a key component. And I can't say that I master it every day. And I can't say I've mastered it over the years, but every single day, I just know. And I guess really, Kat, I mean, like, there's going to be a point in time. There was a point in time over the course of moving the chapter, I call them the chapters of life, that I could vision myself, and I was on the edge of a coffee cup. And I've got a profile picture somewhere around the way that has it. And my arm is outstretched.
Okay.
And that was a period of life that really, I mean, just being total transparent today, that, I wasn't as good on the inside as I was on the outside. I could make everybody, I've got that skill. I can make everybody believe I've got it and I've got it together, and I will pour into you and I will serve you. But my cup was very empty. And I put my hand out because I didn't want people to get close enough to me to see that my cup was empty. Leaving a first business, losing my dad and another key family member, starting another business, not knowing the journey I was going to take. So I spent my life there in those first few years, as making a switch, being busy, I called it. And I talk about it. I'm very open and I share about it. I was busy. Oh my goodness, was I ever so busy. And I was serving. You're right. We can always, if you have a servant's heart, you can always serve.
Right.
But at some point in time, I'll just use that. You're going to crash and burn. It's not going to be where you want to be. You're going to find yourself on the bottom of the pile. And so I really now am very careful about that. The things that fill my cup, whether it is, I've been married to the same guy for almost 40 years. So whether it's time at the coast where it's just me and him and he's fishing and I'm reading, or it's spending time with you've got to feel yourself.
Yeah. Because
again, the entrepreneurial journey, you talk about stopping that momentum. You can stop it dead in your tracks if you're not filling your cup first.
That's powerful truth that I think we've lost sight of for many of us in this culture. So thank you for that beautiful reminder. And, in sharing some of your beginnings and some of what you went through. I mean, you keep it real. I love your vulnerability showing through, but also your power and your strength. And I think that's a testament to filling yourself up, right? So that you're able to just show up and be real and serve. So thank you. We are getting short on time. Debra, I want to ask you another question. There were so many questions because I like to ask questions and chat, but what do you want your legacy to be, in this life and business journey that you're on?
It's really interesting you ask that question, because that's really become, I don't know if we should start, we don't have time today, that, somehow, how did I get to be 60? I mean, how? I don't know. My mother was very old when I was 60. And so that legacy word continues to come up.
Okay.
And the legacy that I really want to leave is all about being a bright light. Debra brightened a room when she came in. Debra let you borrow her energy. When you didn't believe in yourself, she believed in you. But most of all, that you've got what it takes, that she loved hard, she loved big, and I can do it. I've got what it takes, and I'm going to go on because I feel her presence. I feel her spirit. She's still here with us. And if I can leave that kind of energy behind, going, yeah, I got it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
That's-
others believing in themselves,
Hmm.
continuing on. I mean, just think about if we all did that, what the world would be like today.
It would be lit up. So
It
bright.
would be lit up. It would
Yeah.
so be lit up.
It would be. I think you are living your legacy, Debra. Your light is so bright, and I love what you do for others. I love how you serve yourself first. You have the beautiful mindset, but you really are a bright light in the world and living your legacy now. So I'm sure that as you keep doing this, it will come to pass. You believe that, and you are lighting up the world. So thank you, my friend. If people resonate with you, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go.
Where can they find you? And it will be in some of the notes, the show notes, but where can they find you? Do you have any special offers or things for people?
Well, I do. I mean, I'm laughing going, where are you? I hope to be there. So I mean, the thing I absolutely love giving the most is I have a daily motivational email. And the email is a picture and less than 10 words.
Ooh.
And there's a story behind that, but I'm like, we are busy people and we lead busy lives.
Yeah.
And so that's to me an email that I continued to open years ago was a picture and less than 10 words. And so people got used to that. So the link for the daily motivational email is going to be somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I should know that. And I don't know that.
So, you know what? I have it.
Okay, good. I'm going, what is that email? What is that opt-in page? I don't know. But that would be the starting place for me. Of course, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Debra D. Wood, both of those, a business page and an Instagram page, LinkedIn. Debra D. Wood is the place to find me on those social media platforms. And then, of course, I got my new TikTok that I got 2 reels on. I'm laughing about. So people come laugh with me. And if you haven't started, come on and follow me and laugh at me because you talk about keeping it real. That's where it is on that right now in my life.
Oh my God, that's awesome, Debra. You've inspired me. I've been dragging my feet on TikTok, like resisting, no, but you're there, you're 60, you're rocking it. Maybe I'll find myself there. So thank you.
Okay.
I pulled up your email, but it will be in the, not your email, your website. It's debrawood.com/daily-motivational-emails. And she also has an upcoming sales momentum training. So debrawood.com/opt-in-ignite-your sales-momentum. I so appreciate you being here and sharing your light and your energy and your expertise. And hopefully it has inspired others to create that momentum in their entrepreneurial journey. So Debra, thank you for your time, energy, and presence.
No, thank you, my friend. You will always be my first Clubhouse friend. And it is interesting how people, relationships gather in the simplest of places. And here we are today. So thank you. I appreciate you and what you do.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. And we thank all of our listeners, our guests for being here.